beginning of my senior year of high school was overwhelming. Every morning, I would wake up and be at school all day long. From there, I would rush to volleyball practice and be on the court for 2, 3, or even 4 hours. Then, I would go to my job and work until late at night. Finally, I would come home only to work on hours of calculus, physics, or government homework. Between school, practice, and work, I also had to find time to apply for college, do my chores, and play in my volleyball games. There was so much happening in my life, and I could feel the pressure begin to surmount. Sometimes I felt like I was in that scene from Star Wars where the walls begin to close in on Han Solo, Luke, and Leia, and there was nothing I could do to stop the walls from creeping closer and closer. I remember one night, driving down the highway by myself, having to pull over because it was just too much. My heart was racing, my head was dizzy, it felt like there was a brick on my lungs. We've all been there. That feeling like you'll never catch up, you'll never get ahead, and you'll never be able to balance it all at once. On a college campus, this feeling is all too familiar to each and every single one of us. From finals week to extracurriculars, it can be so easy to want to simply throw in the towel and give up. But I think we are better than that. I think each and every single one of us has what it takes to tackle our to-do lists and thrive. Because from what I've been told, it won't get any easier after college. We have to learn how to develop grit today. I've researched this topic, and by the end of this speech, we'll all have a better understanding of how to develop this characteristic. Today, we'll discuss the topic of having grit when you want to quit, by first looking at the definition of grit, second, looking at the problems that occur from a lack of grit, and finally, looking at ways that we can implement this characteristic into our lives. Let's start by defining grit. The 2019 Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines grit as firmness of mind or spirit, unyielding courage in the face of hardship or danger. In 2015, Ethan Riss for the Western Washington University defined grit as passion or persistence for long-term goals. He was quoted saying that grit is a strong indicator of high achievement, most notably GPA and persistence at the college level. In a 2014 study for the European Journal of Science, Mathematics, Education, authors Belaus, LeMay, and Dolick said that grit quality trait perseverance, more than IQ or grades or conscientiousness, may even be responsible in explaining differences between high performers and achievers. Now that we've talked about what grit is, let's talk about the consequences that occur when we lack grit. In a 2018 study done by College Atlas, over 1/3 of college students will drop out. That means that one of the people sitting on the left or the right side of you right now won't make it to graduation. This same study found that 30% of college freshmen will drop out after their first year. Furthermore, stress levels are at an all-time high. In 2019, Adam Pure reported that 91% of young adults are experiencing physical or emotional symptoms of stress. That means as I'm talking, almost every single person in this room is experiencing stress. Now, the stress may be inevitable, but the way that we cope and respond to it doesn't have to be. In 2019, William Wan for the Washington Post reported a dramatic escalation in suicide rates in young adults in the years spanning between 2007 and 2017, a 56% increase in suicide rates. These statistics are alarming, and they're indicative of the fact that we have a problem when it comes to facing our hardships. Many of our peers will resort to drugs, alcohol, eating disorders, or even suicide, all in an effort to maintain their stress. How many lives do you think would be saved if we were just simply told that we're a generation, not of snowflakes, but a generation of students who have grit and who have the ability to overcome any hardship that comes our way? What if instead of lashing out, overindulging, or failing to function, we had grit? Now that we've talked about the consequences that occur when we lack grit, let's look at ways that we can fix it. Now, you may think just because you're not a naturally motivated person intrinsically that it's too late for you to develop grit. However, according to a 2019 study by Dugan, Hochstein, and Rosu, 60% of your personality is determined by the environment, and it's capable of changing well into your adult years. They recommend friendly competition and teamwork as a way to develop grit. In a 2019 study by Shimshel and Lomas, a high capacity to maintain grit correlates to a high capacity of keeping your focus over long periods of time. They recommend that you do 2 things to develop grit. 1, that you devote hours and hours of deliberate practice to it, and 2, that you maintain what they call a growth mindset. Grit is vital to your success in the future, but it can be developed by the little things you do in the present. Maybe it looks like boosting a grade in one of your classes instead of dropping it. Or maybe it looks like making an effort to even show up to class. Maybe it's something even bigger, like adding a minor or getting an internship. Whatever it is, these little things that you do today will instill in you a quality that will be beneficial to you for the rest of your life. Now that we've talked about practical ways to implement grit, let's review. First, I talked to you about the definition of grit. Second, we looked at the problems that occur when we lack grit. Finally, we looked at ways that we can implement this characteristic ourselves. Remember that story I told you about my senior year of high school? How overwhelmed I was? Well, after that night that I had to pull over for my anxiety, I had a bit of a wake-up call. Now, I'll admit, I wanted to give up. I wanted to quit my job. I wanted to quit sports. I told myself, who needs college? But I didn't do that. Instead, I developed grit. I learned to manage my time more effectively. I stopped looking at my schedule from an I'll never be able to get this done perspective and started looking at it from an I can do all the things I need to accomplish attitude. I'm proud to say that because I developed grit, I graduated first in my class, earned a full ride to college, used the money from my job to buy my first car, and hey, we even made it to volleyball playoffs. I don't tell you these things to brag, I tell you these things because I have sat in the seat of stress. But because of grit, I've also sat in the seat of success. Now, of course, there are times when you need to take a break for your own mental health. But I see the potential that rests in our generation, and I would hate to see it squandered by the lies of self-doubt. One of Missouri State's 3 public affairs pillars is ethical leadership. In order to be hardworking, ethical leaders, we have to have grit. We have to be willing to stay determined even when the people around us are not. Today, I challenge you. Believe that you can do hard things. Tell yourself you'll make it to that finish line. See yourself in the seat of success. Grit is something we could all use a little more of, and luckily for us, it's easy to obtain. I can say with certainty that whatever comes my way, it will not turn me into a quitter. Will you say the same? Thank you.